This is Crazy Dave here. You know, I've seen some of you guys use your hacksaw and you hack away at that ribeye road, or you're using your really expensive knives. Man, too complicated and takes way too long. This is Crazy Dave here. So what do I got for you? I've got the Ryobi Sawzall. I installed a brand new sharp blade. This is like a stainless steel blade here. Cleaned it, sanitized it. This baby's ready to go. So now, we're gonna slice into some really good dry aged beef. Not just any dry aged beef. This baby's been chilling, if you want to call it that, for 51 days. That's right, 51. Well, stay with me. We're gonna slice into this thing and see what we've got. You're watching Crazy Dave's Kitchen. Okay guys, so first off, gloves. Why? Because we're entering into a sanitized environment. Well, let's go into the garage here where my dry aging fridges are. And we're gonna open this one up. Now you notice I put a little door clamp here because I wanted to keep this thing nice and closed. We're gonna release the latch and we're gonna open it up. Now which one are we going for? This one right here. This baby, look at that. Now that's been in here since the 12th of March. Okay, and the original weight was 19.51 pounds. Well, we're gonna weigh this baby and find out what it is now after it's been dry aged and see how much weight loss we have. So stay with me. Okay guys, so the original weight was 19.51 pounds. Now this went in on 3/12. Today is the 1st of May, okay? Now I just got done weighing it. It came back as an even, believe it or not, even 15 pounds. So I lost 4.5 pounds just in moisture alone. I still have yet to trim off the pellicle. Okay guys, so I'm gonna try to do this one-handed here because I need a little coffee bean to film. But let's let this baby go. Let's see. You know what? I think I might not use the Sawzall because that looks like hell. Look at all those score marks in here. So maybe it might be the blade I'm using. I mean, that chopped it up pretty nasty, and I am using kind of a rough cut blade here. So I'm thinking I'm still gonna explore into the option of that Sawzall because I think it's really cool, and you saw how it went through it really nice. But I think I'm gonna actually look into some blades. I found a few blades online, not many, but they are coming from Germany, that is food grade with a finer kind of, I guess you wanna call it cutting blade on it. So stay with me on that. I'm still gonna explore the Sawzall for cutting into these ribeye meats, especially guys that have been problems with cutting into the meat that has some really thick or hard bones into this thing. We gotta make our job easy, man. Come on, we're just a bunch of guys having fun. But we got power tools, so let's put them to use. Okay guys, so we just kind of went back over here and we're just gonna slightly kind of get off some of that rough stuff that the Sawzall did. And I'm telling you, that actually looks pretty good. I thought it was gonna tear it up a lot more than that, but that's not bad. So I'm gonna trim off some of this pellicle here, and I think I got a really nice, good looking steak. And again, this is 51 days here of dry aging some boneless ribeye. And we're just gonna peel this off. Look at that, that's beautiful. I mean, that's gorgeous. And the mold really isn't that bad. I mean, that thing's awesome. The joys of having the proper setup, you know, the right humidity, the right UVC setup, this rock salt, and all that. Look at that. I mean, we're cutting into this thing nice. And I mean, this looks absolutely gorgeous for a good chunk of steak. Look at that. I think mommy's going to be happy on that one. What do you think, little coffee bean?
Yeah.
This baby's going to go on the grill in a little bit. Look at that. Beautiful. I mean, whew, look at that color. That's That's some amazing color here. But I might have to trim off a little bit here because there's a lot of fat content there. Well, we're gonna still trim this one up here and we're gonna see what we end up with. Ooh, look at that. Man, dude. Now that is some meat porn right there. Look at that. Gorgeous. I mean, that is some beautiful, beautiful marbleization right there. Gorgeous. Guys, whatever you do, do not throw this stuff away. Save it or give it to your dogs. You can, you know, render it down to some beautiful, you know, sauces that you can make out of it. I've heard of guys taking this stuff and they render the fat, add a little bit of garlic to it, some rosemary, and you're gonna end up with some amazing, look at our juice. Look, that's gorgeous, man. We're still gonna trim some of that off there. That needs to be trimmed up a little bit more. Ooh, look at that, the knife caught it, yay! Did you guys see that? That was awesome. Ooh, man, look at that. I mean, that's awesome. Man, that looks good. And believe it or not, guys, this is choice meat. That's right, choice. Personally, I like to use the choice. I don't like to use the prime. I think that sometimes in dry aging, choice is just as good, if not better, because when we dry age the meat, we're actually taking the meat to a whole new level here. And that's why, again, I really like the choice meat. Let's see here. This whole thing's gonna come off right here. There you go. Now look at that. That's a good chunk of fat. We're gonna still save that. We can render that, but that's gonna be a nice chunky steak right there. Oh, we gotta get this off here. We're just gonna trim right along there. Now you guys want to leave a little bit of fat on here because you want the juices to go into the meat a little bit here, and we don't want to dry out the meat when we're cooking it. Let's see here, a little bit here. Man, that's a pretty looking steak. I mean, look at that, the muscles there tearing up. I like that. That's a good size piece of meat here. Looks beautiful. Oh man, it smells beefy. It smells wonderful. It doesn't smell anything like mold or anything. It's got great color. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's beautiful. Well, there you guys go. 51 days. We're gonna cook this baby up, and we're gonna do a taste test and find out, is 28 days perfect for ribeye, 40 days, or taking it to a new level and do 51. Stay with me. Okay guys, so I trimmed up the steaks to about 1 inch. And some of you guys were wondering, is it easier to trim the pellicle first and then cut the steaks, or cut the steaks and then trim the pellicle? Well, in all my other videos, I always trim the pellicle first. And this one, I just decided to cut the steaks and trim the pellicle. This way is a little bit more responsive here and easier to work with. Well, I apologize in advance. My knife skills, or my cutting skills, or butchering skills, I should say, actually butchering skills, is not the best. But over time, you know, you kind of pick up on it and you learn. Okay, but we're just going to trim that off. And I mean, that thing looks gorgeous. Well, I'm just going to keep trimming it. Now remember, the pellicle, we're going to save this stuff like this, and we're going to render the fat. Now how do you do that? I'm going to show you how to render the actual pellicle fat and what to do with it. Well, we're going to trim off a little bit more here, and I think pretty good. That looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit of hard right here. Trim it off. But that looks pretty nice. What do you do with this stuff? You know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Oh, just throw it away? No. What we're gonna do is we're gonna render this stuff, and we're gonna make like an au jus sauce with this stuff. So what do? we're gonna cut this up into cubes. We're gonna put it into a crock pot on low. And we're gonna let it simmer for about 8 hours or so. But cut them up nice and small. We're gonna add a whole onion. We're gonna add some fresh garlic, some thyme, and we're just gonna let that baby render for about 8 hours. Well, stay with me, and I'm gonna walk you through that step of how to basically render the dry aged beef fat. You're watching Crazy Dave's Kitchen. So as you can see, we've got a lot of different sized pieces here of this fat. So we're just gonna, grab some of this fat here, and we're just gonna kind of like, hack away into it, and we're gonna make, just cubes. Always watch those fingers. Take the cubes here, and we're gonna throw them over here into the crock pot. And you can take a look at the crock pot there. I pre-cut some of these cubes, and we're just gonna kind of, again, let this simmer on low for about 8 hours. Okay, and we're just gonna kind of keep cutting these things. In about 8 hours after we're done loading this crock pot up, then we're gonna come back and we're going to strain it. Well, after or before we kind of do this, we're going to add some onions and some garlic and some thyme and all kinds of stuff. Now, as far as the amount of spices, well, it depends on the amount of pellicle you have, and just basically go with what you think is right. Just keep adding stuff. Okay guys, so now the pellicle has been pretty much rough chopped and thrown into the crock pot. Now we're gonna come over here and we're gonna just rough chop, one onion, kind of peel it real quick, and we're just going to kind of, rough cut it, and we're gonna throw the whole onion into the crock pot. And we're just gonna peel these off, as I just rough cut it. Do whatever you need to do. And throw it in. Next, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of some thyme. Just dump that in there and spread it all over the place. Next, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of rosemary. And finally, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of fine garlic powder. Now, eventually, we're going to stir this up. But real quick side note. Some people say not to, some people say to, and that is to add this, water. Oh, well, oil and water don't mix. Yeah, but you need something to help this out. So I'm adding 1 cup of water to the pot. And that's just gonna help not to have the meat fat burn at the bottom. Now we're gonna mix this up, toss it around, stir it, and let it simmer for 8 hours. Okay guys, so now it's been about 12 hours for the pellicle rendering, and look how much lower this container is, and look how juicy that is. Now remember, we added all that pellicle from the 51-day ribeye. We added some rosemary, some thyme, some garlic, and a whole onion. Well, now what we're going to do is we're going to take a metal strainer here, and we're going to start scooping out the leftover pellicle here. And basically what we want is the actual fat itself. Okay guys, so I'm trying to film in one hand here, and we're gonna try to scoop some of the stuff out here. And you can see I'm having a real hard time. But what I'm trying to do is basically do this, and I want to try to get as much of that pellicle over to the strainer, because I want to strain out as much as possible and get the juices only. Well, unfortunately, I got to put this thing down so I can go ahead and finish this project up, but I will show you the results in 1 second. Okay guys, so here's a metal strainer completely full of the pellicle, and you'll see there's still a lot of it still in the container. But notice here that it's barely dripping down. We'll give this basket a really good shake, and you'll notice that it's going to start dripping a lot more. Look at that. So we want to do that a couple of times and shake this baby and really get that oil that we're trying to extract here out of this thing. Well, stay tuned. Okay, so what did I end up with? Well, over here on the left, that's the pellicle remnant, if you want to call it that. Not sure what I'm going to do with this stuff yet. But then over here, that is the actual fat rendering, and look at that. Now, the thing is, unfortunately, I ran out of cheesecloth, so I didn't really strain it that well. But heck, man, I don't think it really matters for the dry aged beef rendering of the fat. Well, what you're going to do with this stuff is you can actually make some gravy. You know, add a little bit of some flour or some cornstarch to that, and you can actually render a really super good gravy, or you can even try to make it into like an au jus sauce here. Well, there you go. That's how you render the dry aged pellicle from a 51-day dry aged ribeye. Well, thanks for watching.